Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought I would discuss spinning into a climb or any beginner, intermediate, or advanced movement that you want to initiate on spin pole. So when I'm teaching people, the common intuition is to just jump onto your spin pole. And when you're jumping on your spin pole into like a climb or a fireman, it probably looks something like this. Something like that, where you're kind of aggressively looking like you're attacking the pole rather than gracefully flowing on your pole, kind of more like this. So you can see there's much more control in that second version. So today I'm going to be walking you through how I gradually approach my spin pole and how I can adjust my speed while I'm actually going into the spin itself. So first and foremost, I'm going to be focusing on a forearm entrance. So if you're familiar with a forearm climb, and I have a whole tutorial on how to learn about how to do proper forearm climbing, but that's what I'm going to be using to show you how to properly approach your spin pole if you were to go into a spinning climb, for example. So using that same forearm stance, I'm right-handed, so I tend to place my right forearm first. That's the most comfortable for me. And then if you haven't watched that climbing tutorial, I usually will just find the other hand and I'll reach it way up. And I'm just kind of trying to find that tension in that top shoulder. Again, I'm not using my bicep here in that top shoulder. So I think the first important thing that you should be able to do is to have somewhat of an airwalk. And an airwalk is just where I'm able to levitate, keeping my feet off the ground, and I'm just holding my body up with my arms. Some of you might not be able to do that, and in that case, I would go ahead and take maybe a leg, and I would hook that in front of the pole before I even take off. And so that would look a little bit more like this. So I'd hook, pull, and then I would attempt that airwalk. Again, that might be a little bit too difficult for some people as well. If you're not strong enough and your airwalk is looking a little bit more like that, let's say, you might not have the correct forearm placement technique down, or you might not be strong enough for that movement. And in that case, you could pre-set up your climb a little bit, again, by hooking one of your feet in front. You're still gonna have that inside foot pivoting on the ground behind you. So still practice placing the forearm in that top arm. We're gonna lean forward and we'll just immediately pick up that bottom foot. So you'll have to be a little bit quick with picking up that inside foot in order to actually stay on your pole. But if you're not quite strong enough to have a spin climb initiated with more of an airwalk, then I think that that would be a good place to start. Another important thing is when we're on spin pole, we actually want to adjust our speed with how much we're opening our lower body. So a lot like on static, one thing that I'll do to get more speed going into a spin rather than jumping up into it more vigorously is I'll just spend a little bit more energy, or I'll be a little bit more conscientious about opening up my exterior hip and my exterior leg. So I'm going to show you what that looks like compared to me having kind of a closed off stance. So this is closed off. My hips are pretty close to the pole, and this is me initiating a spin. So pretty slow and controlled. And then if I really open up that hip and that leg, you're going to see me go much faster. So a lot quicker depending on how much I open my body. Now usually when I'm initiating a spin, I kind of take a middle ground between the two, and I veer on the side of putting a little bit too much like build up into my spins. So I usually will open up more than what is actually necessary to get any of my spin climbs going. So this is ideally about how much I'll open. So I'm not too close to the pole, but I'm not way out here. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, and that's going to give me a speed without slowing it down somewhat like that. Now for me, that's probably a little bit too fast for a lot of the combos that I would go into. So one trick that I use pretty much every single time that I come onto a pole in a spin climb is I'll use my inside foot to slow my spin down. So zooming in on my feet a little bit more, I want you to pay attention to this inside foot. So as I'm opening up, initiating that spin, you can see that my inside foot is staying on the ground as my body begins to rotate. You can see how it pivots and it kind of drags behind me. Now that dragging behind me is obviously slowing down my spin. So let's say that I had a really aggressive setup again. I'm opening way out here. I can literally slow that down to like the slowest spin if I drag that foot for a while. So I kind of think of this inside foot almost like my braking system. So a really good drill for y'all to practice if you want to get more control with that inside foot would be to literally just set up more aggressive spins. So really opening yourself up and practice rotating and slowing yourself down with that foot. I also think it looks really pretty. Wider angle view, what that's going to look like ideally. Here I have that inside foot. It's going to slow me down. I'm going to open up. And another thing I like to do is I like to look back at that foot. I think that also looks good, and it's going to help you get a little bit more control rather than not looking at that foot. If I actively look at it, I can see that it's applying that pressure into the ground, and it's giving me a little bit more mind connection with that foot. And then eventually over time, you won't feel the need to actually look at that foot. You can just initiate spins, and you'll know exactly how much pressure to put on the floor and when to actually pick up that foot. And then you can get the perfect speed for your spin climb, your fireman, or whatever spin you're going into immediately on the pole. Now, of course, you could set up your spin perfectly and just pick up your feet immediately. But I think having a little bit of that dainty drag actually adds a lot of style and character. I always use it whenever I'm initiating climbs now because I feel like I can get the perfect speed out of it and it looks pretty. So then let's talk about that airwalk component that I was mentioning earlier. So airwalking, I do think that in order to have like the best spin climb possible, you should be able to hold your body weight up off the ground. And if you are able to climb on a static pole, you most likely can do this on spin. It's just a matter of tweaking the technique a little bit. So in that forearm static climb that a tutorial I posted a while back, we started with our bodies directly behind the pole. But when we're approaching a spin pole and we're trying to climb up it, I think it's best attempted kind of from the side of the pole. Because what you're gonna be doing, like we covered with that inside foot, is we're gonna be kind of pivoting, rotating in towards the pole, rather than attacking it just head on like we did in our static climb. So rotating in requires a little bit more of a poked out forearm. So the exact placement of this, again, is in that form climbing tutorial, but I ideally want the pole to be on this meaty portion of my forearm. So as I'm rotating in towards the pole, you can see that the forearm is gonna rotate into the pole, and right when it hits that sweet spot of my forearm, that muscly part past the bone, that's when I push and pull, and I feel comfortable picking up my feet. So a little bit more up close, here I am kind of pushing that form out a little bit more than I would on a static climb. And then I'm gonna have that tall reach. And you can see, let me move back here, as I'm turning into the pole, that form rotates ever so slightly on the pole. And right when it finds that sweet spot, so right here is where that sweet spot is on that muscly part, that's when I push and pull, and I feel comfortable lifting my feet up in that airwalk or whatever spin you're going into. That inside foot slowing us down a lot is really powerful. And usually I never get the wrong speed going for me. Usually I never feel like I'm going too fast when I'm up on the pole. This would be too fast for me for a lot of combos, I would feel. So if you are feeling like you're too fast, I just tell people to sit back in their spin, because as you might all know, the more open you create in your body, the more openness, the slower your spin pull is gonna move. So if you've got a really fast spin going on, one way, if you're in the middle of a combo, you can literally just sit back onto your pole. So I'm too fast, I sit back, and you can see how I'm immediately starting to slow it down. And I'll just kind of hold here for a couple of seconds, and then I'll slowly rise back up into my climb, and then I'll reset the forearm and the top arm so that I can pick up my legs again and move on to the next push up in my climb. Another thing that you can do if your spin is going too fast to open your body is to literally open your body up. So maybe I'll send this leg back, and immediately that's also going to slow me down. And again, I slowly bring that leg back in. And then that's a way that I can, again, press the brakes a little bit on my spin climb if it gets a little bit too out of control. So heading into a little bit of review over the spin climb in general, I usually start with a little bit of a staggered stance here. So staggered stance, I have the inside foot a little bit more in front of the outside leg. And again, that's just so this outside leg has a little bit more property to open up so I can create a more powerful spin. And then again, if it's too powerful, I can tailor that down by dragging that inside foot. And that inside foot is just pivoting on the ground as I'm deciding to pick up both feet. So then moving on to that forearm, I'm gonna place it a little bit more forward than I did on the static climb. I'm gonna reach up really high, trying to find tension in that top shoulder on the outside. I'm gonna open up, feeling that stretch all along the side, opening up my hip, opening up my leg, and I'm gonna roll into it, drag the foot, looking back at it, and pick up both legs and pin the pole at my knees. And then I'm just gonna rise up through the pelvis, and I'm up. The rest of the climb on spin is identical pretty much to your static climb. Of course, you can be a little bit more flowy with your spin climb as well. That kind of comes with a little bit more personal style and flair, but the setup is the same. Generally, I will just go into switching my forearms every time that I push up from my spin climb. So I go here, I push up, and then this bottom arm comes up, and then I'm going to take that forearm a little bit lower so that it's going to be providing me leverage. And I pick up my knees and lock again. And I just repeat. And that was just a quick little tutorial on how to set up a nicer spin without jumping onto your spin pole. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down. That was kind of a brief tutorial, but I hope it helped somebody out there, and I'll see you on the next one.